If not, yeah, we want to talk a little bit about what coaching is. Some of you are very familiar with coaching. Some of you are coaches professionally. Some of you don't know anything about coaching. So we'll tell you a little bit about coaching as we see it. First of all, we don't really know what coaching is. I don't know. Oh, I shouldn't have. The mic's on. But what it is what you decide it is as much as anything. The way coaching is done in the world these days is many and varied. There are, yeah, Jim? Uh-huh.
Just in relation to whether you have a point of view on whether or not it's appropriate to actually end up going with somebody.
Well, this is my request. Can you and I discuss it when we're finished tonight? Okay, thanks, let's do that. And we can discuss it later, but I want to continue with what we're doing now. So the process of coaching involves a dynamic by which you are, as the coach, supporting another human being in their efforts to accomplish or do or be a certain way. Now, there are quite a few people who do coaching in the business world. I do some of that. I teach in the MBA program at the college here coaching, and that coaching sometimes is a little more directive, sometimes is a little more consulting oriented, giving advice and opinions and that sort of thing. There are some coaching models that tend to be more directive by telling the client what you should do and when you should do it, a little more of a football coach style. And then there are models that tend to be more listening oriented, more oriented towards facilitating the client in coming up with the answers. The approach we like to take with coaching is the approach that works in the moment. So there's no right or wrong. So the most important thing to say is you already are a coaching artist. You already engage in the process of supporting other people in their lives. You may do that professionally, you may not, but you already do that. You've been doing that for a long time. And you paint your own picture using the colors on a palette that you already have. Some of these colors serve you well, some of them may not. What we're going to introduce to you are possibilities of dynamics that you can use in your artistry as a coach that may be new for you, or they may not. So the idea is to add a color or two or three to your already existing palette, from which you can then draw forth for the purpose of supporting other people, clients, friends, family, anybody you know. So our model envisions that the client is capable of creating all that the client chooses to create. The client is a divine being who knows and is the only one who knows what it is she or he wants to create. And so your role as the coach is to facilitate their process by which they see more clearly themselves in what they want to create. Now, coaching generally is different from the concept of therapy. I've got a psychology background, as many of you in the room I think do also. And in therapy, generally, I'll oversimplify this, therapy tends to be focused more on the past, what has happened and what dynamic is occurring inside of someone that interferes with their ability to create the next moment. So it tends to go backwards and it tends to go deep, generally. Coaching tends to be a little more future-oriented. The assumption in the coaching process is that the person is not in a place of pathology. They don't have a problem that needs to be fixed. They're whole as they are and have an issue or a dynamic with which they wish to dance in a certain way. And so you as the coach help them to move forward by seeing possibilities, by exploring their own state of being, by helping them to focus on how to make things happen. So that's the general distinction between those two. Our model of coaching that we're going to discuss this weekend is based upon CWG principles and coaching processes in general. We've kind of melded them together. The idea here is that it is largely a two-track process. It's a process that involves certain skills that you will use, skills that we'll play with in practice this weekend. And it involves more than that, how you are being when in relationship with another person. as Jim said before, the energy between your words and in your silence. Our thought is that really what happens in the coaching process is a magical dynamic by which our state of being, when in resonance with our truth and our peace more fully, becomes a powerful mirror in which the other person can see their truth, can see more clearly how it is they're making up their reality, and then make their choices based more clearly upon their ability to see what it is that's real for them. So does that mean you just sit there and smile? No. But what it does mean is we invite you to consider this possibility, that however good a listener you are, however good at giving advice you are, however much you know spiritually, however knowledgeable you are, ultimately is not nearly as powerful as the place of joy from which you come in relationship to yourself when with another human being. If you're in a place of the truth of your being, and you look another human being in the eyes and simply ask them what do they want, they'll know what they want. I mean, our vision is that the concept of humanity's team making a difference in the world and contributing to improving the state of the world will happen most powerfully when we achieve that which we want to within ourselves. And then from that place of presence and peace will come forth amazing influence on other people. So as we play with these processes, we're going to be exploring a lot about ourselves inside. What happens to us when we engage in supporting another person? And we'll have multiple steps in the model, multiple skills we'll play with. Keeping in mind, though, always, that this is all kind of artificial because it's an educational environment. We've got a model, but this is not about you memorizing the model and saying, oh my God, I'm at step 3, I've got to go to step 4 now. It's not about that. And it's not about having to do the skill just the way these guys talked about it. It's about dancing with this stuff, taking what works for you, and getting the message between the words of everything we're talking about. Because ultimately, in this gathering here, in this room, our view is that the real work that's going on is happening between all of our words. And it's happening between all of our thoughts. And as we play with these concepts, the space opens up so that magic will happen for us in this room to support our intentions that we seek to create here.
Let me give you an example of that. Think back, if you will, to your high school days. And of all the teachers that you have, there's usually 1 or 2 that stands out in your memory. And 99 chances out of 100, it's not because of what they know or even what they did. It was because of who they were. It was the energy that came from them as an individual that you as another individual connected with. It was a very intangible thing, but you could feel it. And it lodged in your memory banks of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later. It's still there, and that person stands out above all the others. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of energy that we're talking about.
Yeah. There's something about that person, and that's a very powerful dynamic. So we'll be playing with a number of concepts, including the idea that we can use, perhaps, as a measuring device as to our creation of a state of being in line with our truth, the amount of joy we're feeling in this very moment. Are we feeling joy, or are we not feeling that? Where's our joy meter? Is it way up all the way, like in this moment, this is beautiful and fantastic? Or is there something else going on? And consider the possibility that if you are not feeling joy in this moment, there's something you're making up about reality that is not true. That perhaps it is true, but it's not true about that which is out there in the world. It's true about something inside of yourself, which is seeking to come forward so that you can learn to love it and create an alignment with that energy so that it clears for you. Whether it's that sense of feeling tired, frustrated, anxious, wanting to be loving and helpful, whatever it may be, we have all kinds of patterns within us that in effect hijack us and live us, rather than the truth of who we are living through us. So we are constantly hijacked by already existing tape recordings within us, which then live through us. The awareness of which begins the process, wherever that list is up there, the process of seeing more clearly what we are not. What we are not. What we are not. And our idea here is, as much as anything, we'll be learning and acquiring certain things, but more powerfully, we're going to be learning to give up things. Stop doing things that we do. Not because they're wrong, but because they may have a consequence that you do not want to experience. Or maybe you do, and that's fine. But consider the idea that if you can stop doing certain things that you do habitually, that into the space may flow a greater level of joy that might be the best way for you to get, whether you're creating your beingness in line with your truth. Happy is fine. Whatever word works. You can use exuberant, you can create your meter however you want. But the idea is that, just a suggestion, to play with how you're feeling inside at that level of happiness, gladness, joy, exuberance, exhilaration, enthusiasm, whatever word you want to use. And that might be a good indicator in the moment as to what you're making up. Because maybe we are making it all up.
You heard that before?
Have you heard that before? Or maybe we're not making it all up. And maybe we're making up that it could be either one of those. Who cares? Doesn't matter? Who knows? So, any questions or comments? They're an easy group. They're an easy group. And they're probably a tired group. But they're actually not tired. What they're doing is you're making up that you're tired. There's certain sensations you have. You had certain sensations which for your whole life you've told yourself mean that I'm tired. And when you say or envision in your mind I'm tired, all this other stuff comes along with it that are tied into the word tired and your meaning of what that word tired is. And all that stuff then starts living you. So you're not tired. Tiredness is living you. Yeah.
It's going to be very good for you.
Good.
Everything that you had just said from the time that James asked his question completely lost me because that was something that was unfinished with me too.
Cool.
With that exchange. So I personally, I don't know if I'm the only one in the room, but I lost me from that time.
Cool. Or maybe what happened is that you chose not to stay with me because your need to have closure on that hijacked you.
You're right.
And so I invite anybody who wants to have closure on that to join us afterwards to complete that discussion. But just to notice that, and just to notice the distinction, if that works for you. You may disagree, and that's fine. But to notice that, hey, what happened to me in the moment is that who I was in terms of the choice of being here now got yanked away by something else that showed up in my space that was an interpretation. So just to notice that. We're going to have lots of opportunities to do that this weekend. Anybody else want to share anything that's up for you? Including, and don't be afraid to say you're tired now. It's like, oh my God, it's like, I'm not tired. I can't say I'm tired otherwise. What's up for anybody? Anybody want to share anything more? Yeah, okay, guys.
So does that mean I'm not really tired, that I'm not really feeling
Okay, so here's the question. What do you think? What do you think?
I think I'm feeling bleary-eyed.
You are, okay. And
I'm feeling bleary-eyed. I think I'm feeling bleary-eyed.
so you are feeling bleary-eyed.
Making it up that we're
Which is fine. And there's no right or wrong in that. So anyway, we're gonna spend a lot more time getting into this stuff. We're just throwing some things out at you now. Teresa?
I just wanted to share that I actually had a major breakthrough with my little mini coaching session.
Cool. Cool. Anybody else have a breakthrough? Cool. This will keep going.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I've ever felt this comfortable in my skin ever.
Cool.
She just really, because I wasn't totally accepting myself, and I knew that, and I just didn't know what was the next thing for me to do. But she just said whatever was the right thing to make me feel totally okay with, being a grouch and being all those terrible things that
Caustic.
I am.
Caustic.
Exactly.
Wow.
Not really being accepting all the time, and because I wasn't doing that for myself.
Yeah, it's cool.
It was amazing.
It's cool.
I feel so good. Thank you so much.
It's cool. Well,
Join the plastic club.
you can join the Well, the idea here is that there is magic that happens in the coaching process, and there's even extra magic when we're gathered together like this, because we're all kind of creating a certain space energetically here now. So, yeah.
I actually wish beforehand when I was coaching Marta that I could really almost
And whatever anybody's experiencing is absolutely right. You know, it doesn't have to look a certain way. Whatever it is, it is. So, yeah.
My experience with Gary was that part of the reason that I felt at home, he was coaching up that
That's cool. That's cool. And which is a good point also is that, again, we can't emphasize enough that in this space there's an opportunity to step into working on issues that may be pretty core for you. There may be issues that you just don't feel comfortable getting into, but this is a space where there may be an opportunity for some magic to show up. So consider that possibility as you think about what it is you want to work on during this weekend. So.
Think of your comfort zone. Just on the other side of that comfort zone is where the growth happens.
That's right.
So do yourself a favor.
Take a risk. Take a risk. Jump, and the net will appear. So we will start tomorrow at 9:30. You have, I think almost all of you, not all of you, but almost all of you have notebooks with you. So if you want to take a look at the notebooks, feel free to do so. And tomorrow we'll be serving lunch, or get lunch tomorrow from noon to 1, and likewise on Sunday. We also have in the notebook, the very first document is an email that went out to most of you that has information about the times of the workshop. It also has what we had requested as sort of preliminary homework. It's not critical that you do anything in particular, but to think about issues you want to work with, think about your intentions for the weekend, think about certain qualities of beingness that you'd like to have come forth more fully in your life. And finally, we request that you have made or now make arrangements to coach somebody tomorrow night by telephone or in person for about 20 minutes or so. There's a little, there's a page behind tab 1, I think it's the last page in there, that talks about the homework. So if any of you have not yet made arrangements with somebody to coach tomorrow evening by phone or in person, we can help that happen. So preferably somebody outside of the group. If that cannot be arranged, it can be somebody inside the group. The idea is to actually move out of the energy of this group, outward to somebody else who's not in here, to play with the skills that we will have worked with to that point. Yeah. Well, that's your choice. Our request was that it be somebody you don't know very well, but it can be anybody. You make that choice for your own process. If you don't have anybody, what we'll do is we'll request people here in this room first to volunteer somebody they may have to give to somebody in the room. For example, you may have, maybe your spouse at home would be willing to do this, or somebody else you know. Well, again, you can do as you wish. The preference in this instance would be to use somebody you don't know very well, but that's okay. You use his husband. So there you go. So let me ask now, who here needs somebody to coach tomorrow night? Jeez. Yeah. So how many people here feel as though you may not be able to get somebody to coach tomorrow night during the breaks or whatever because you're in another country or whatever the case may be? Okay. Well, there may be reasons. Yeah, there may be. For the coaching? There'll be tomorrow evening, anytime you wish. We will complete tomorrow at about 5:30 to 6, and then anytime during the evening you can coach. So go ahead.
When I did this particular exercise, it was in a hotel in San Rafael, and I met somebody in the lobby, and I said, I'm taking a training class in coaching. Would you like to be coached? And she said, okay.
That's another possibility. So what we'll do is, why don't we, tomorrow morning, we'll work on the logistics related to this issue. And so with that, anything else we want to touch on this evening? Think about your intentions for this weekend, and you may want to reflect on them right before going to sleep. What is it that you want to create for yourself here this weekend?
And think about things that you want to bring into your life that are not here, or things that you want to make go away. that are here.
Yeah.
And if you can't think of anything and you don't think you have any issues, that's an issue.
That's an issue. That's an issue. What the hell's wrong with this person? We'll find out. So anyway, anything else anybody needs to put into the space before we close for the evening? Okay, we're all done. We'll be back here at 9:30 tomorrow. See you then. You're welcome. It's cool. We're off and running. We're starting. The energy is moving. I got a lot of tired people in the room, I think. A lot of tired people.
Yeah, so you have a lot to do.
Oh boy. Hey Keith, how you doing? Yes, yeah. Huh? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we did. That's right. I remember that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not always that. People like